What is going on, everybody, and welcome back to the Saturday edition of the Stochastic NHL Strategy Show. I am your host, Josh Harris. We're playing MMA. We're in the middle of the card. They're in Abu Dhabi right now. I'm dead. One of my guys got knocked out in 51 seconds. You hate to see it, but now we can concentrate on some NHL. Got an 11-game slate tonight. DK listed GPPs for tonight, tomorrow, and Monday already. They're a little underwhelming. They need to start taking some chances again. It is what it is, but, you still can win more than a Honda Civic. So that's good. What's going on, Cliffy? How are we doing?
Not too bad. Pretty good slate of games last night. Not going to lie, the only game I really watched in full yesterday was Vegas and Ottawa. Got to watch Ottawa blow a lead, give up 3 goals in about 90 seconds to go from 4-3 to 6-4 in the final 4 minutes of that game. That was pretty fun to watch. I watched the World Series last night. That was a pretty good game. Wasn't too locked into watching Joel Blomqvist make 47 saves or whatever it was against Edmonton. But interesting slate here tonight, because it is a pretty big slate. There are 11 games, 22 teams, but some of the big guns are off the slate. Colorado's not on the slate. Edmonton's not on the slate. New Jersey's not on the slate. Like, we have Tampa Bay, we have, Toronto. There's still some pretty high-end guys, but it's one of those interesting slates where there are a bunch of top options missing. There are a couple pretty lopsided matchups that are skewing ownership, but it's leaving a lot of mid-price guys not very much ownership, and those are the kind of slates that I like.
Yeah. Lots of high home totals. 5 of the 8 teams you played yesterday are playing tonight as well, so you're going to get some back-to-back matchups. Ottawa, they are who we thought they were. They're good offensively. They're a train wreck defensively. Doesn't matter who's in net anymore. Like, it could just be a polar bear, and they put up the same numbers as anyone with a name plate on the back of their jersey. I guess that's what happens when you have Travis Hamonic as your top pair. But let's get into this slate tonight. There are, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 home totals, 3.6 or higher. Like Cliffy said, there is a lot of mid-range lines going overlooked here, so I am excited for this slate as well. Let's get into it, but before we do, just wanted to give you guys a shout out. Thank you guys so much for all the affiliate support. You signing up for your memberships through our affiliate link. It supports us directly, helps us bring you all these free shows that will always remain free. If you want to join, just click the link in the chat. You can sign up with NHL weekly or monthly. We still have an NBA deal going on through, I think, Tuesday or Wednesday. If you use promo code TIPOFF24, you get NBA Core Weekly or NBA Core Monthly for $1. It will renew after that. If you just play every sport, you can use promo code everything for all the Sims, 10% off literally everything until you decide to cancel. So again, thank you guys for the support. Thank you for the likes. Thank you for the thumbs up, which is the same thing. But there are already over 100 of you in chat on a Saturday afternoon. Thank you for taking time out of your day to talk about hockey with us. Engvall being called up by the Islanders has to be the fantasy impact of the day. No, it's still Toronto trading Engvall for nothing is the fantasy impact of the day, since they're both on the slate. Let's get into this first game. Let's talk about them Leafs. Toronto Maple Leafs with a 3 total. Heading into Boston, the Bruins have a 3 total. Both 3 totals in this game. The TD Garden is kind of a house of horrors for the Leafs, just like the Rangers whenever they went into Montreal with Henrik Lundqvist. That was a house of horrors for them. Leafs don't have very good memories in the TD Garden. That being said, their top line, Matthews, Marner, Nyes, 2% projected ownership here. It is a 3 total, and like I said, there is 6 home totals, 3.6 and above. But this is a road line that I actually like. Boston isn't a good team defensively anymore. They're just not. And especially that Lindholm, Pasternak, Zaka line, even if they don't go out against top comp, like I would imagine the Coyle line will see a fair bit of that Matthews line, but like they're not even that good defensively. So I'm in on Matthews, Marner, Nyes here just because of the ownership, right? And some of these home lines and these big totals are priced like insanely expensive, and we'll get to that when we get to it. But 20,500 really isn't too bad. You get Matthews and Marner on the top power play unit, obviously. Like Matthews has started to score more, but he hasn't had one of those holy crap, he broke the slate type of games like he had probably 31 times last year. I'm in on Toronto 1 here. You want to go to Toronto 2. I'm not so much in on them as a full stack. There are lines that I just like better in that range. A Nylander one-off is fine, but Toronto 1 for me. On the Boston side, Pasternak, Lindholm, Zaka at 18-2. They have some positive leverage. They're coming in with 7.1% projected ownership, but again, I don't want to keep beating a dead horse here, but until they show me something at 5-on-5, I don't want to put them into my single entry lineup. Yes, the Leafs struggle on the penalty kill, and yes, they're fully correlated. So in MME, I think you can definitely get to them, but then you're relying on basically a power play goal, 2 power play goals, and that's not something I want to rely on in single entry. You want to play them in MME, perfectly fine, but until they show me something at 5-on-5, I'm not interested in them in single entry. I don't really have much interest going down the lineup either, so this is a Toronto 1 game for me.
Yeah, I'll be quick on Boston. Like, again, I don't have a lot of interest in this team. Like, you're right. The top line for Boston is presently constituted with Lindholm, Zaka, and Pasternak. 3.6 high danger shots, 4 per 60, 13.6 against. They're just not creating anything. Like 45 shot a line with David Pasternak at 45 shot attempts per 60 minutes. It's just absolutely, it's like beyond dreadful. They're just not playing well. Yes, they are perfectly correlated. And like you said, in MME, I think they're fine. The thing is, like, there's another line that's coming in with low ownership, similar top 2 stack probability, similar price range that we'll get to in a few games that I like a lot better here tonight. So, yeah, I'll always say David Pasternak went off is always in play for me. Other than that, not a lot of interest. I agree with you on Toronto 1. They are one of the lines I like. I certainly like them a lot more than Boston, even though they're like 2,300 more expensive. That top line has been dynamite to start this year. Like we talked about, I just said the Pasternak line is at 45 shot attempts per 60. The Matthews line is at 93, over double of the Boston top line so far this season. 20.6 high danger shots per 60, 4 goals per 60. Marner, Matthews, they're probably almost certainly going to play between 20 and 22 minutes or something like that. Nyes is shooting the puck. He's looked pretty good this season. Your point about Boston's team defense, like, their goaltending was great last year. Goaltending hasn't really been that good this year, but it's also not all on the goaltenders. At 5-on-5, the Boston Bruins, 2.7 expected goals against per 60. That's worse than teams like Chicago, St. Louis, and Buffalo. They have the same goals against per 60 as the Chicago Blackhawks. And Boston's also the most penalized team in the league. They've given up 5 power play opportunities per game to the opponent. That's 40 power play opportunities in 8 games. They're over a power play goal against per game so far in the season. They've given up 9 in 8 games. The penalty kill hasn't been very good either. It's not just that they're taking a lot of penalties. Their shot rate against is like 22nd in the NHL or something. This is not a good team. Maybe they get better as the season wears on. Through their first 8 games, this has not been a good team. Their record reflects that. Their record is one of those things that reflects exactly how well or how poorly this team is playing. So yeah, I agree with you. Toronto 1 is easily the line that I like best out of this game. They're not my favorite line in that price range. they are one of those, 18 to 22K lines that I certainly would consider. They're basically the only line in this game that I really have interest in. Like you said, if you want a one-off, somebody like Nylander, Bobby McMahon, something like that, I think those things are fine. But for a full stack, I think it's Toronto 1 or nothing for me out of this.
Yeah, Clayton says Daily Lindholm disrespect. Don't want to disrespect the guy, but numbers don't lie. The numbers don't lie. The eye test doesn't lie. My mentions and my DMs are just filled with angry Bruins fans. But what can you do? We can just tell the truth. We read the numbers. You see the numbers. You watch them play. They look awful. Speaking of awful, let's head on to this festival of fuckery. The St. Louis Blues with a 3.1 total heading into Montreal. The Canadiens have a 2.9. This is bad because, oh man, the Blues don't have Rob Thomas. So
also, I only saw one beat writer report it, but Philip Broberg left morning skate. He just said he left early with a towel hanging over his head, and I haven't seen any further updates to that. So keep an eye out for Broberg. He may or may not be in.
Yeah, and I know this is gonna sound weird, but Broberg has looked good to start this season.
I mean, it is the St. Louis Blues. It's not really a high bar.
Yeah, but maybe worth the 4x he got from the Oilers there, who could probably use someone like Broberg. But anyway, Rob Thomas, broken ankle, hasta la vista, baby. We'll see you in a few months. Top line is Braden Shen, Jake Neighbors, Brandon Saad. That would have been a good line in 2003, although Jake Neighbors was probably in middle school. Buchnevich, Kyrou, Texier. That's nice. And they're playing Montreal here. And I know Cliffy's a Montreal fan, but he'll agree with me. They're fun offensively. They are a bag of ass defensively. They're awful.
They're easily the worst even strength defensive even strength team in the NHL. The penalty kill has actually been fine. Even strength, this is like 2015 Buffalo Sabres stuff. It is absolutely pathetic to watch.
Yeah. Although, I did see a chart with Sidney Crosby's name next to Josh Anderson's, but we'll get to Pittsburgh when we get to Pittsburgh. But yeah, man, we were talking about this game a little bit before the show, and we're like, no matter what we do, we're going to be wrong. This game is going to find a way to screw you. We kind of maybe need to find out what Frostback's doing with it, and then we can do the opposite. And maybe that will lift the goalie curse, is trying to figure out what he does in this game. But for me, on the blue side, it'd be Kyrou, Buchnevich, Texier. You don't have to play Texier if you don't want to. I'm a Texier guy. He's cheap enough. He comes along for the ride. You could just go Buchnevich, Kyrou, Falk, and call it a day. I don't have a ton of interest in Shen, Neighbors, Saad. The one thing is they're 11,900, and the Blues just love giving Braden Shen minutes. So at that price, I think you got to consider them. I don't really like them, but they're under 12,000, and they're going up against a terrible team. So if you are spending up, that is a line that I would consider. I do prefer Kyrou, Buchnevich, Texier, just how the cookie crumbles. On the flip side, I do like Montreal Wong, Caulfield, Suzuki, Kirby Dach. The Blues don't take a ton of penalties, but there's no way this Blues team is that good defensively. And Montreal has a 2.9 total, and they're missing Slavkovsky. You know what I mean? So they're expecting goals in this game. I do like Montreal top line. Again, they have a little bit of negative leverage, a little bit higher owned than the top two stack percentage. There's other lines in that price range that I much prefer. But if I'm MMEing, this game is just going to be an absolute. There's no result in this game that would surprise me. So I want some action on Montreal 1. I want some Buchnevich, Kyrou. And honestly, as a filler, if you're spending up for Tampa's or you're doing some sort of power play stack, I think the Shen line is in play just because of their price, which is disgusting.
Well, another thing with Shen too is with Bob Thomas injured, Shen is the guy that took a spot on the top power play unit. So he is getting, better, more favorable offensive usage, let's say. Over the last couple seasons, that Buchnevich-Kyrou duo without Rob Thomas is at 3.8 goals per 60 at 5-on-5. Like, that's pretty good. They have been fairly productive this season. Like I said, Montreal, I'm not trying to be hyperbolic saying that they're the worst 5-on-5 team in the league. They're at 4.36, 4.4 expected goals against per 60. The next closest team is at 3.4. Like their expected goals against is last and 30% worse than the next worst team. Like this, like when I said it's pathetic, like I'm not trying to be hyperbolic or speak ill of a team that I'm favorable to. This team sucks defensively. And that's what's making me really want to consider St. Louis. And the thing is like, it's not even a specific line. Like we have seen that before in different teams where like maybe the top line will be kind of okay defensively and then the depth will get ran over. Every single line is getting run over from Montreal. Like it just does not matter. I do like Kyrou, Buchnevich, and Tessier. Like if you want to leave off Tessier and put on Shen or Neighbors or something for some power play correlation, I think that's just fine. Like I said, Montreal's penalty kill has at least been better than last year, but they are taking a lot of penalties. They're like 9th in the league in time shorthanded per game. So the Blues might get their opportunities here with the man advantage. Montreal, it's just a really good matchup for St. Louis. You're not going to see St. Louis with 3.1 road total in too many matchups. There's a reason for that. So I really do like Buchnevich, Kyrou, Tessier, and again, you can put in Shen or Neighbors instead of Tessier or something if you want. Some power play stacking. On the Montreal side, like I do like that Caulfield, Suzuki, Dach line. The last time we had them on a slate, we talked about what they did a couple years ago when Kirby Dach first got there. Like they were a pretty good offensive line, about 3.7 goals per 60, all on the top power play unit. They're not that expensive at $16,900. So like you can fit in a pretty good second stack with them. Like there are other lines elsewhere on the slate to play that we'll talk about, but a lot of them are coming in with a lot more ownership, right? We'll talk about Nashville. Nashville is going to have fairly heavy ownership. Dallas is going to have fairly heavy ownership, like those types of things. So Vancouver. So like, I do think Montreal is in play for that reason. It's because they're going to come in at half the ownership or less to similar lines in that price range. So I do think Montreal 1 is in play here, but like you said, St. Louis isn't taking a lot of penalties, 2.6 times shorthanded per game. That's amongst the lowest in the league. And Montreal is really not generating much at 5-on-5. So I think I like the St. Louis side here better. It's the Buchnevich-Kyrou line specifically.
Yeah, I do too. And it's just makes me nauseous. Before we go on to the next game, we have a $19.99 super chat from CPS DFS. Thank you very much. He says, thanks for grinding on a Saturday, guys. Appreciate all the info and work you put in. Thank you. And I know you pinged us in chat. Was that yesterday? I think it was yesterday morning. Days just blend together already. We've hit that point of the season already where everything just blends together. I know you finished second in the 153 max the other night for a couple grand based off the show. Congrats to you. I appreciate you tuning in. And
that's the lineup right there. Detroit 1, Dallas 2 with McCarr and Hedman on the blue line.
Yeah. And Igor couldn't hold you down. He tried. Igor sucks. Many are saying that, but congrats to you. Appreciate the super chat. Thanks for tuning in. Let's talk about.
Yeah, no, sorry. I was just looking at something else. Yeah, thanks a lot for the super chat. Congrats on the hit. Hopefully we can get some more winners in the chat, as a YouTuber might say, here tonight.
Yeah, let's get Frost back a W. The homie needs a W so bad, man. Got to start tipping your dealers, you know what I mean? It's not like I've made any money off his misery either, but we'll get there. Washington Capitals with a 2.9 total heading into Tampa Bay. The Lightning have a 3.6, another 6.5 game. We talked about this line before the show, like Kucherov, Gensel, Point. do not deserve their $25,400 price tag. I don't know why they keep getting more expensive. They were like, what, the first show of the season, they were like 19,900 or something like that. Now they're 25,400. Yeah, Kucherov's been Kucheroving, but like Gensel and Point really have not been worthy. Like Jake Gensel, 7,900. Yeah, when he's cooking, he's worth that price tag, but like he can't even figure out how to turn on the pilot light right now. Like obviously this could be a matchup where he figures it out, but like 25,400 on this slate against the Washington team that's honestly not that bad.
I mean, at least not that bad defensively.
Yeah. Like I don't really want to spend 25-4 on Tampa 1 here tonight. They do have the highest top 2 stack percentage at 27.5, and they only have 3.9% projected ownership. So like they would be a leverage play if you played them. It's just there are other lines in the 20Ks that I prefer, a bunch of them. You know what I mean? So like in theory, they're a great play when you price in the ownership. It's just like I don't want to spend up to 25-4 in a matchup that honestly isn't as good as it seems. So I'm out on them in single entry. I have no issue going back to Cirelli, Hagel, Geeky. The thing is, right, Hagel and Cirelli are up to almost a 50-minute sample. They've been running people over. Running people over. The issue, and I can't believe this is coming out of my mouth, Strome, Ovechkin, Protas in a small sample have also been running people over, and that's the matchup that they're going to be facing. It is kind of strange to say an Ovechkin line is running people over because Ovechkin just kind of lollygags around, but like that kind of takes me out a little bit on the Hagel, Cirelli, Geeky line. They're a filler line. I think that you're fine in MME. But again, like 13,700, I'd rather just go play Wilson, Dubois, McMichael for $300 less. So that's probably where I'm at this game. Like I don't love this in single entry, but if it would be anything, it'd be Wilson, Dubois, McMichael. I'm fine with Cirelli and Hagel, but I honestly prefer that Washington Dubois line.
Yeah. One thing I will say about Washington running people over is they've only played 6 games, and 2 out of those 6 games have been against the Flyers. So, like, Flyers look. I mean, I know the Flyers look good this afternoon, but they've been largely pretty bad this season. So, take that with a little bit of a grain of salt here. Yeah. I'm not paying 25,400 for that line. Like I was telling you before the show, Braden Point and Jake Gensel, their shot attempts per 60, it's like 23 and change so far this season. There's like 20 players in the league who are shooting more often individually than they are combined. Like all the shots are going to Kucherov. Like that's going to change eventually as the season wears on. It's something that I would take a chance on if this line was like 20K or something. I don't want to spend over half my salary cap hoping that Jake Gensel or Braden Point start swinging the pendulum the other way and they start picking up their points. Like, Jake Gensel's a really good player, but 7 points and 3 shots per game for 7,900 on DK. Like it's just too expensive. And it's kind of the same thing with Braden Point, where Braden Point is 7,800 on DK, and he has 6 points in 7 games, under 2 shots per game. It's really, really wild where that line is being priced. Point and Gensel are their production should tick up a bit, but again, it's not a line where if they get 2 goals and Kucherov gets a shot bonus where you're laughing. Like you need 3, if not 4 goals from this line. It's just a lot to ask. And like you said about Washington's been a good defensive team this season. Like the second lowest expected goals against per 60 at 5-on-5. Only Minnesota is lower, and fewest shots against per minute on the penalty kill of any team in the league. And it's not a team that takes a ton of penalties. They're a little bit above average, but not super high. I agree with you. I think it's Hagel Sorelli for me as like a little two-man. It's like Boston. It's like a one-off Kucherov is always in play. I have no issue with that whatsoever. It's just full stack in the top line. I don't think so. On the Washington side, honestly, that Wilson Dubois McMichael line, it's kind of interesting to me because they will avoid that Hagel Sorelli matchup. And then after that, I'm not worried about too many of the defensive matchups on the Tampa Bay side. So like a two-man of like Dubois and Wilson, one off Connor McMichael, like those types of things I'm fine for Washington too. It's basically the second lines that I like best in this game, but it's not even full stack in the second lines. It's one-offs or two-mans. It's something like that.
Okay, Rock says they don't look good. They got lucky. He says they have 4 shots on goal halfway through the game. There's 5 minutes left in the second period. The Flyers still have 4 shots on goal.
Do they really?
Torts, baby. 4.
Man, that's Detroit Red Wings territory there.
That is the most classic Torts coach team of all time. 2 goals on 4 shots heading to the third. Anyway, the Anaheim Ducks with a 2.5 total. Frostback played Gustafsson, by the way, if you're wondering what the hell happened there. The Rangers have a 4 total. At least we get to talk about his Ducks here. No one runs worse at goal. Like, I know you guys think I'm joking. If you're not in the Discord and you think I'm joking, I don't even know what to say, like how bad he's running. It does not make sense. But anyway, let's talk about this Rangers-Ducks game. Johnny Quick is in net for the Rangers. Like, what? There's nothing left to say about Panarin, Trocheck, Lafreniere. They're 21,000 flat, 19.6% top 2, 12.3% projected ownership. Like, you get Panarin and Trocheck on the top power play. Lafreniere plays the most of any forward 5-on-5 on the team. Like, there's nothing really you can say about them from a negative standpoint. They have a great matchup here. I guess the only negative thing you could say is they're coming in with double-digit ownership on an 11-game slate, but they're easily the best Rangers line. So I'm completely fine with them. I prefer them to Tampa because you save $4,200. They're a little bit more expensive than Toronto won. They're in a better matchup. They have the highest total on the slate. Getting positive leverage on the best line of the team in a 4 total seems like a win. So I'm in on them. I think Zibanejad, Kreider, Riley Smith are fine as a filler. There are a couple other lines in that price range that I would prefer with a little less ownership, but I'm okay with them because this is such a good power play matchup and the Rangers power play is excellent. Again, if you need fillers, Hedel Kako, Hedel Mania, they have been great to start the season. Obviously, they're only going to play 13, 14 minutes, but that full line is 9,000. So if you are spending up for Tampa, 2-man of Hedel Kako, probably your drink of choice. On the Ducks side, that's a good question. Usually, like, Clayton says, if this game's a blowout early, will the bottom 6 get more minutes? The thing is, like, the Rangers don't play a ton of blowout games just because they're not very good defensively. And it is quick in net, so it does worry me. But, like, if it is, like, 4-0 going into the third, something like that, I would bet that you will see, Hedel and Kako get up to 15, 16. You'll see Trocheck, Panarin, Lafreniere around 17, 18, Kreider 16, 17, something like that.
I mean, it just happened against Montreal. The Rangers were up 4-1 after the first period, and Trocheck still played 20 and a half minutes. Panarin was over 19, and Lafreniere was at 17:53. So not their usual ice time, but it's not like it was nuked down to 15 or 16 minutes or something like that.
Yeah. I mean, they don't really trust the fourth line, so they kind of just roll their guys anyway. But on the Duck side, for me, it would be Vetrano, Terry Strome. I was talking to Cliffy about that before the show. The issue that I have with that is that you can get the Pedersen line for $1,200 less. Yes, the ownership is gonna be a lot higher on the Pedersen line, like astronomically higher.
I was going to say a lot higher is kind of underselling it.
Yeah. It's like 100 times higher, like 0.2% to 20%.
It's true.
So in that sense, like I don't mind Vetrano Terry Strome. And, you know, if you live on Narrative Street, you got Strome and Vetrano back in the Garden. It's not really, I don't think they give a shit really, but 13-9, I'm fine with it. If you want to go play Frostbacks, Carlson and Gauthier, be my guest. But for me, it is the Vetrano Terry Strome line, and this is a Rangers game.
Yeah, one thing I will say is that I don't really mind Vetrano Strome Terry here, just in general. Like 13,900, they're priced at a spot where obviously you can't play him with Tampa. It's tough to fit him in, even with some of the more expensive lines. Like we'll get to Florida, like Florida and Vegas and something like that. So they're kind of a nice line to fit in if you're playing like a 16 or 17K line elsewhere. They've actually been pretty good this season. Only 50 minutes because I think Vetrano missed a game for birth of his baby, but 15 high danger shots, 4 per 60, only 9 against, like actually carrying the run of play. 3.7 goals per 60, split on the power play. And, you know, the Anaheim power play does suck, but they're drawing, I think, the 4th most opportunities per game of any team so far this season. I think they've only played 6 or 7 games. So obviously the sample's not big, but they're actually drawing power plays. And, you know, at a certain point, volume matters. Like I don't mind Vetrano Strome Terry as a filler line here tonight. I really don't. Especially where absolutely nobody's playing them and they're not going to get Igor Shesterkin. Like if Shesterkin was in net, I would almost certainly say just pass on Anaheim entirely. With Quicken, I think it's a different story for me. So I don't mind Vetrano Strome Terry as a filler line here at all. I think they're the only line I would really play. I know Frostback is big on Carlson and Gauthier, and you know honestly they're not bad, but Gauthier is not getting a ton of ice time. They're having trouble. I think they're at like 60 shot attempts per 60 minutes, but only like 20 shots. Like they're taking a lot of perimeter shots, which I don't really, and you know, some of the shots that they are taking are getting blocked and missing the net, like that type of thing. I think I'd rather just go with the proven line of Vetrano Strome Terry. But obviously it's the Rangers side that I like best, like going right back to Panarin, Trocheck, Lafreniere at 21K. I have that line graded higher, but I do see a case for playing Zibanejad, Kreider, and Riley Smith instead. And the case is that Anaheim's penalty kill is god-awful, and Kreider is, I think he's going to eat that defense alive in front of the net. You know, with Joe Pavelski retired now, look at Kreider is the best net front power play guy in the NHL. I shut up. I really do like Zibanejad, Kreider, and Smith here. They're not playing well defensively at 5-on-5. Don't really care about that. They're playing pretty well offensively. They're priced in that mid-price range. You know, a little bit of negative leverage, but I don't really care. It's 4% top 2 stack, 6.5% ownership. It's like whatever. It's not a big deal. I think I prefer the Zibanejad line here, but you know, I'm not going to say don't play any of the Rangers' top 3 lines. They're all very much in play. It's just depends what you want to do with the rest of your lineup.
Yeah, need that Lafreniere power play 1 announcement. You'll be waiting. You're going to be waiting until Kreider or Trocheck are off the team, because that's the spot that Lafreniere would take. But
people keep saying this. I don't want to run too long because we have a bunch of games to get to. But Lafreniere plays the wings, like the dots on the power play. One of the guys he'd have to replace is Panarin, and that's never happening.
And Zibanejad.
Yeah, it's Zibanejad. And I just don't see them taking Zibanejad off the power play. It's kind of like the one thing that he can still do reasonably well.
Yeah. I mean, they kind of move him around on the second power play unit just to get him in different spots. But The Rangers saved themselves some cheddar by keeping him off the power play. We'll just leave it at that. Winnipeg Jets with a 3.2 total heading into Calgary. The Pilot Lights have a 2.9 total. I don't want to like this game, but like I kind of like this game just from the fact that like Connor, Scheifele, Velarde kind of suck defensively. Like they're up to 100 minutes this year and they are a little bit underwater. And that's not what you want to see from a top line. And Coleman, Backlund, Zari have been decent. Not great, but decent. They're 11,900. Again, one of their filler lines that you probably could fit with Tampa. The issue is if Hellebuck starts, like that would just immediately lower the interest for me on Calgary. And I don't know if he's probable. I just went and checked DraftKings. There was no P next to his name. My interest in Calgary is goalie. It is like goalie reliant. Like if it's Hellebuck, like the interest goes down. If it's not Hellebuck, the interest goes up. But again, at 11-9, I think is interesting as a filler line. Coleman, Backlund, Zari, like Kadri Kuzmenko. They're creating a bunch. They're just not finishing. Maybe Pospisil helps there. They're only 14K. They'll get a fair bit against, Lowry, Appleton, Niederreiter. Excuse me. And that line, they're okay. But again, I think for me on Calgary, it'd be Coleman, Backlund, Zari. On the Winnipeg side, you look at the flow chart, right? You in a good matchup, you fade them. In a bad matchup, you play them. This is a good matchup, but like where the flow chart kind of gets a little bit muddy is they're coming in with 1.5% projected ownership, right? And that would be the reason to play them. I don't love them, right? At 19.3, I'd rather go play the Leafs at 20,500, the top line there. But I think in MME, I definitely think you can mix in some Winnipeg one.
Yeah, the Winnipeg one was the line I was thinking of when I said there's another line in that price range I'd rather play than Boston. It is Winnipeg one. A lot of Calgary's success this year has been because their goaltending has largely been good. Like even old Danny Boy, Danny V, Danny Vladash. I think he got blown out in his first game. Couple starts since have not been bad. And Dustin Wolf has been pretty good in his game so far this season. But that Winnipeg top line, just one, they get a ton of minutes. Two, they're perfectly correlated. Three, again, like this Calgary team is kind of giving it up a little bit defensively. They're giving up the third most shots per minute of any team at 5-on-5. They're 25th in the league for expected goals against per minute at 5-on-5. Like this is not a good 5-on-5 team. Going up against Coleman, Backlund, and Zari is not ideal, but it's not. I don't think it's one of those matchups that really would scare me enough to not play them. That Winnipeg top line is not my favorite line, like in that price range, that 18 to 21 price range or whatever. Like I would probably rather just go play the Rangers, especially in a single entry, that Panarin, Trocheck, Lafreniere line. I agree with you. If I want to get like a low owned top line in that price range, it would probably be Toronto. But I do like Winnipeg one, and I certainly like them more than teams like Boston, teams like Chicago, Florida, like those types of things. So they're not at the top of my list in that price range, but they're not near the bottom either. I don't mind Winnipeg one here. Winnipeg two is kind of interesting as well. And I say that because the one thing Calgary has had this year is a pretty good penalty kill. And unlike 5-on-5, the penalty kill has actually been good by things other than just save percentage. Eighth fewest shot attempts against per 60 on the PK, seventh fewest shots, fewest high danger chances against per 60 on the PK. Like the Calgary penalty kill has actually been good. So if you want to focus more on 5-on-5, Ehlers, Perfidi, Nemesnikov, I think makes sense here. They're starting to generate more quality, which is nice to see. And, they're still putting in some points on the board. I think Ehlers, Perfidi, and Nemesnikov fine as a filler stack. Scheifele, Velarde, Connor, it would be my target. I think they're really the only line I'm targeting in this game. I'm pretty sure Hellebuck's starting. Hellebuck's only had 2 starts in the previous 7 days. Like, I don't see why they would give him a rest, because they don't play again until Monday. Like, I think he's going to play 4 in a row, and then maybe they rest him. I think it's Wednesday they play Detroit. That feels like a pretty good night to have off if you're Hellebuck. So I imagine Hellebuck's going to go. So I don't have a lot of interest in Calgary. Like, I always say, one off Nazem Kadri, I think is fine. Those types of things. But I don't have really a lot of interest in stacking the Flames here tonight.
Yep. Let's go on to the next one here. Florida Panthers with a 3.1 total heading into Long Island. The Islanders have a 2.8. I unfroze there. I had quite the frozen face there for a second. Anyway, this game sucks.
Yeah.
That's really about sums it up. Islanders are on a back-to-back. Sorokin went yesterday, so it's going to be Varlamov. Like, Kachuk, Bennett, Verhaeghe are fine at 21-2, 12% top 2 stack, 2.8% projected ownership. The thing is, like, the Islanders aren't a terrible defensive team, and they just don't take penalties. So, like, I'd rather go play the Rangers in that price range. I'd rather play the Leafs. You know what I mean? You want to spend up and have like 4 or 5% in MME, like that's fine. But I just don't particularly love the matchup. Don't love the price. You want to go play Lundell, Lusteran, and Reinhart as a filler, like fine. I'd rather play the Zibanejad line, et cetera, et cetera. So I'm not really interested in the Flyers, or excuse me, I still do that, in the Panthers. On the Islander side, I just like, if you get to either of those 2 lines in MME, that's fine, but I'm not going to run out of my way in a single entry to have Islanders in my lineup tonight.
Yeah, I'm not going to go along here. I really don't have a lot of interest in this game. Generally speaking, Florida's been one of the least penalized teams in the league, and their penalty kill is excellent. So this is a pretty bad power play spot for the Islanders. And, even without Alexander Barkov in the lineup for most of the season thus far, a lot of the Florida metrics are right around top 10 in the league at 5-on-5 defensively. It's basically only like if Sergei Bobrovsky sucks tonight, then yes, the Islanders can probably pop like 4 goals or something. If Bobrovsky's even average, like just league average, I don't think the Islanders score more than 2. So like, it just seems like a pretty brutal matchup for both sides. And, the Islanders are the least penalized team in the league, 1.6 times shorthanded per game so far this season for the New York Islanders. They've only given up 11 power plays total in 7 games. They're usually one of the least penalized teams in the league. I think it's a pass for me. If you want to one-off some guys, I'll never say no to one-offing any, but like most players in just about any game, I think, like a one-off Kachuk is always playable, Palmieri, those types of things, but I'm just out on this game.
Yeah, and we have a couple people mentioning it's Spencer Knight in that.
Yeah, that's right.
If Spencer Knight's head screwed on to his shoulders, which it seems like it is after he went through the assistance program, like he was one of the top goalie prospects in the world. So like he may end up being better than.
And it's like it's not like based on how Bobrovsky's been playing, it's not like it'd be a downgrade. Like unless he's like literally one of the worst goalies in the NHL, it would be an upgrade based on how Bobrovsky's played so far this season. So it's still no interest.
Columbus Blue Jackets with a 2.6 total heading into Smashville. The Predators have a 3.8. Predators played last night. They beat the Blackhawks. So it's probably Saros started last night. So it's probably going to be Wedgwood for the Preds. That does give me some interest in Columbus just because like Nashville hasn't been great defensively. Their penalty kill hasn't been great. Not that the Blue Jackets power play is a mean machine, but I don't mind Monahan, Marchenko, Sillinger. I wish it was Chinnikov. Cole Sillinger is basically the Braden Shen of Columbus. They just love playing this fucker minutes for some reason. I don't mind going to Fantilli, Chinnikov, 2-man if you're, power play stacking someone, spending up. I think that's fine. It's a 2.6 total, which is fair to high for Columbus. So again, I don't think I'd full stack anything. I would, take 2-mans of Fantilli, Chinnikov, Monahan, Marchenko, something like that. On the Nashville side, you talk about price not going anywhere. Nashville 1 is $17K. Forsberg, O'Reilly, Nyquist are not fully correlated. Nyquist is on the second power play unit. 12.1% top 2 stack, 17% projected ownership. Second line is Stamkos, Marchessault, Sissons, 14.5. 6% top 2 stack, 14.7% projected ownership. I think you're fine to power play stack here. It's one of those spots. I don't mind it. You want to go to the full Nashville 1, I think that's fine as well. If I was going to full stack a line, it'd be Nashville 1. If I was going to do something with Nashville 2, I'd probably just turn it into a power play stack. But again, I know Columbus sucks, but with Wedgwood in net and Nashville's issues defensively, I'm fine with a little bit of Columbus here.
Yeah. As far as the Columbus side goes, I agree with you. I don't mind the top line here. In very limited sample without Chinnikov, but even with Sillinger there, they've been fine at 5-on-5, perfectly correlated on the power play. Columbus power plays honestly not been bad this year. They were really, really bad last year. They've been fine so far this year, I would say. And fine's a pretty big upgrade for them. The top line for Nashville has been pretty good defensively this season. I think that kind of hurts my outlook on Columbus 1. I think it would be Columbus 2. I actually have a little bit more interest in. Maybe I'm just an unabashed Adam Fantilli slappy at this point. But Chinnikov and Fantilli and Pythia at 12,500, not coming in with any ownership at all. 0.9% top 2 stack, 1% ownership. They get Wedgwood. That second line from Nashville is not good defensively at all. I think it's Columbus 2 that I like a little bit better here, just because they do get a much better 5-on-5 matchup. But I think Columbus shouldn't get overlooked here. Obviously, it's the Nashville side that I like a lot better. The thing with the Nashville side is there's just a ton of ownership coming in on them, as you mentioned, 17% on the top line, 14.7% on the second line. Hell, even Mark Jankowski's at 3% on the third line. I kind of get it, but the thing is this isn't a case where I would dip down to the third line, because I think if you want to play anybody against Columbus, you want to play the power play guys, because it's the Columbus penalty kill that has really struggled so far this season. They're giving up the 4th most shots against per 60 at 5-on-5. The only thing that's saving them is a 903 save percentage on the PK. It's far too high. We talk about Los Angeles all the time. Los Angeles had 905 or whatever for a full season last year, which good for them. And then look at their penalty kills so far this season. They are getting their asses handed to them, because that's just how regression works on the PK. Whether that happens to Columbus or not, but they're giving up a lot on the penalty kill. The Nashville power plays struggled at times, but I think the games I've watched, they're moving the puck well. They're getting good shots and all that. Eventually that puck is just going to start flying in. It's Nashville 1 that I would rather play, just because we have a sample of them playing pretty well both this season and last season. Much higher top 2 stack percentage. I think if you want to take out Nyquist and put him on a Stamkos or Marchessault or something like that and just make it more of a power play stack, no issue with that whatsoever. Kind of like we talked about St. Louis with the Buchnevich-Kyrou line. I really want to focus on the power play guys on the Nashville side. It is Nashville. I like the best in this game, and certainly Nashville 1 is in play for me here tonight.
Yep. Chicago Blackhawks. 2.2 total. We're back, baby. Heading into Dallas, the Stars have a 3.7. I'll make it quick on the Chicago side. No, thank you. Never say no to a Bedard one-off, but that's really about it. It's just a brutal matchup, man. They played yesterday. They were playing well early, and then they just stopped playing well. I guess that's what happens when you suck. But they have to go into Dallas, face Jake Ottinger, who's been very good to start this season. It's just Bedard one-off for me. On the Dallas side, the top line of Robertson, Hintz, Stankoven, 16K. They have a little bit of negative leverage, 10.3% projected ownership. I'm completely fine with them at that ownership because of the price. And yes, the minute's concerned, but it's baked into the price. You want to roll out Duchesne, Marchment, Sagan. They've kind of started rolling. They do that thing in October and November. At 12-4, I'm completely fine with that. The issue that I have with the second and third lines, at some point they're going to run into Jason Dickinson. Not all the time, but, Dickinson with Mikheyev, their numbers have been very good, even without Joey Anderson. So it does give me a little bit of pause. But again, they're 12-2 and 12-4 on DraftKings, so I am okay with it. I think in terms of the Dallas lines, it would be the Hintz line, then the Duchesne line, then the Wyatt Johnston line.
Yeah, no interest in Chicago either. The Dallas side, it's that Dallas top line that I really have interest in. Robertson, Hintz, Stankoven. There's usually minutes concerns for Dallas. I was looking at how they've split those minutes up over their last 4 games. Robertson and Hintz are both over 19 minutes a game. The fourth line really hasn't been good, and that was one thing that Dallas had last year. It's like they had a fourth line that they played fair bit. That hasn't happened so far this year, so they are giving a few more minutes to the top line. That top line is currently constructed 3.5 goals per 60 so far this season. Robertson and Hintz back on the same power play unit together. This is a really good match. And the thing with Chicago, too, is we don't know if I haven't seen anything on Arvid Soderblom's status. Missed last night with an illness. If you can't go tonight, it's either Mrazek on a back-to-back or an AHL goalie. So it's something that's probably not going to work out in Chicago's favor. The Dallas power plays started to figure it out here after, rough few games to start the season. So I really do like Robertson, Hintz, and Stankoven. Like at 16K, coming in with a little bit of negative leverage, but it's not that bad, and it's a big enough slate where you can get different elsewhere. Like it is that Robertson, Hintz, Stankoven line that I really do like here tonight. You want to go down Duchesne, Marchment, Sagan? I think that's fine. They're perfectly correlated on the power play, right? And Dallas is basically at a 55-45 power play split. They're going to get some power play time. They are perfectly correlated. So I think it's Dallas 1, then Dallas 2 that I like in this game. Wyatt Johnston always makes a perfect one-off, I think. I don't really like his line, but he plays a ton of minutes in all 3 phases and could, get moved to the top line at some point. But if I'm stacking anything out of this game, it's probably Robertson, Hintz, Stankoven.
We are in agreement there. Pittsburgh Penguins with a 2.8 total. Heading into Vancouver, the Canucks have a 3.7. Pittsburgh got shut out last night to the Oilers. They gave up 50 shots on goal to the Oilers. Joel Blomqvist stood on his head for as long as he could. Looks like it will be Nedeljkovic tonight because they sent Yari to the AHL on a conditioning stint, more like get your eyes checked stint, but not a huge Nedeljkovic guy anymore. The issue that I'm running into here is the ownership on Vancouver is a bit high, you could say. Brock Besser, JT Miller, Jake DeBrusk, 15,600, 7.2% top 2 stack, 13.5% projected ownership. That's not awful, but Pedersen, Garland, Hoglander, 12,700, Why? I don't know. That line has been getting minutes too. 5.3% top two stack, 21% projected ownership. Like, I'm fine with the Pedersen, Garland, Hoglander line in theory. It's just a lot of ownership on an 11-game slate. 21%. That's a lot. And I like Brock Besser, JT Miller better anyway. So, and you get DeBrusk, and they're fully correlated. Pitt's on a back-to-back on the road. They're heading through Canada. They've made it all the way to the West Coast. And let's not pretend that Crosby's good defensively anymore. Like, you watch a Penguins game. Cliffy was saying it this morning to me. He's like, all these announcers are saying how good Crosby is defensively. He just isn't anymore. So I'm in on Besser, Miller, DeBrusk, because they're probably going to get that matchup. And Vancouver's at home. When they send out Besser, Miller, and DeBrusk, they go out with Hughes and Hronik. And they're easily the best two puck movers on their blue line. Not only are they the best defensive pairing, they move the puck. So I'm in on Besser, Miller, DeBrusk. More so than Pedersen, Garland, Hoglander. I'm fine with them in theory. It's just like 21% on a filler line is crazy, but obviously it's a huge slate. You can get different in MME, in single entry. Like, I'm okay with it, but give me Miller, Besser, DeBrusk against a Crosby, Rust, O'Connor line that honestly isn't very good defensively. So Vancouver, Miller line, I'm in on more than the Pedersen line. Pedersen line's fine, whatever. On the Pittsburgh side, if anything, it would be Malkin, Raquel, Bunting, but that really just does not excite me on the slate.
Yeah, I think the problem for me, I'll go over Pittsburgh quickly. Like, I just don't have a lot of interest. And then the problem for me with Pittsburgh is the Vancouver penalty kills are arguably the best in the NHL. And not that the Pittsburgh power play is a lead or anything, but if you take basically any power play upside away from a team, like getting there at 5-on-5 is a lot. If you want to, I think one-offing Malkin is honestly the thing that makes the most sense because he does get power play minutes. The only guy on his line to do so because they moved Chris Letang up to the top PP. But yeah, I don't have a lot of interest in the Pittsburgh side here. It is Miller, Besser, DeBrusk that I do like in this game. I think you're fine taking DeBrusk off and putting on a lot like Elias Pettersson at 59. I think it's 5,900 on DK. Like, this is a guy that was like 8K at times last year, right? This is a pretty big savings. He's had a bad start, no goals, 3 assists in 6 games. But if you look at his numbers with and without Jake DeBrusk, they've just been way, way better without Jake DeBrusk on his line. And yeah, that, Miller and Besser going out against that Crosby line. I think the league average for high danger shots against per 60 minutes of 5-on-5 is like 11.8, something like that. The Crosby line so far this season, Crosby and Rust at least, are at 27 high danger shots against per 60. It is crazy. Now, the reason they're in games is because they're still really good offensively at 5-on-5. So, they do trade chances back and forth. They can create a lot offensively, but they give up a ton in the defensive zone. So, Miller, Besser, DeBrusk. I think you're fine taking DeBrusk off, putting on Garland, putting on Pedersen, something like that. Make it more of a power play stack. Pittsburgh doesn't take a ton of penalties, but their penalty kill is, it's not terrible, but it's certainly nothing to say that you should be, concerned about it. By shots against per minute on the PK, they're 23rd in the league, worse than teams like Utah and Buffalo. So with Nedeljkovic in net as well, like, I'm not worried about him. It is that Besser, Miller, DeBrusk line I like best in this game. Again, you can take off DeBrusk, put on Pedersen or Garland, make it a little bit more of a power play stack, but that's easily what I like best on that side.
San Jose Sharks, 2.3 total. Heading into Vegas, the Golden Knights have a 3.7. Golden Knights played yesterday. They beat Ottawa 6-4. Eichel, Stone, Barbashev up to 22,700. You put a decimal instead of the comma. You'll get their shooting percentage, pretty much. They're priced at their shooting percentage. They are running hot right now. You see that happens from time to time, though. Like the Arizona Coyotes top line with Barrett Hayton a few seasons ago were shooting like 30% for like 5 weeks. Just insanity. Eventually, that's going to come crashing down. I'm not sure this is the matchup where it will. Sharks don't really offer too much defensively here. It's the price that's a little bit prohibitive for me. It is a 3.7 total, but again, like I talked about it, the Rangers' second line is $1,500 cheaper, something like that, in a higher total. They do have more ownership. You do get some positive leverage here on Vegas 1. But the Vegas second line is $12,700, and you get Hertl and Dorofeyev on the top power play unit as well. And they only have 4.5% projected ownership. Like Dorofeyev will get ownership. He's just so cheap for his role that he'll get ownership. But you throw Hertl in there with him, throw Shea Theodore in there for a 3-man, you get a fairly low-owned 3-man, cheap 3-man that, well, Shea Theodore is not cheap, but Dorofeyev is, that is in a very good matchup. So I do like Vegas 1 here, don't get me wrong. And if you have $22,700 to spend for him, I'm perfectly fine with it. But for me on the Vegas side, it would be Hertl and Dorofeyev. If you want to leave on Howden because you need the salary, sure. Rangers legend Brett Howden in the top 6 in 2024. That is quite the scene, but it is what it is. On the Sharks side, if anything, it would be that top line. But for 16-6, I'd rather just go play a whole bunch of other lines.
Kind of like, there are other games on the slate where you want to attack a team's penalty kill. We talked about it with Boston. We talked about it just now with Vancouver and Pittsburgh. I think you want to attack the penalty kill of San Jose in this game. San Jose Sharks, 4.6 times shorthanded per game so far this season. It's the second most in the league. Only Boston has given up more power plays per game, and the Sharks have given up 9 power play goals against in 8 games. Like, this is a team that's taking a ton of penalties. The penalty kill itself is not very good. Meanwhile, the Vegas power play has been really good. That top unit with Theodore, Eichel, and Stone, 5 goals in under 25 minutes of ice time together. That is really, really good production. I think it's Eichel Stone that I prefer in this game, but what I would want to do is add Thomas Hertl or add Dorofeyev or something like that to the stack to make it more of a power play stack, because this is a really, really good power play spot for Vegas. Vegas doesn't draw a ton of power play opportunities. Like, that's one of the drawbacks. They're a little bit below league average in that sense. I think the league average is at about 3.1. They're at about 2.9. But it's not 2.7, sorry, but it's not like a death knell or anything like that, especially when you're facing a team that's given up like 4 to 5 power plays just about every single time they step on the ice. And we know how good, these guys play with the empty net situations. These guys will get a lot of ice time. Jack Eichel, shot bonus threat, all that stuff. Like, there are a lot of reasons why I like the Vegas power play here tonight. It is their power play guys in general. So like Eichel, Stone, Dorofeyev, Eichel, Stone, Hertl, Eichel, Hertl, Dorofeyev, like something like that, I think is what I really like on the Vegas side. The San Jose side, I think, is where things get interesting here. I know we like to make fun of the Sharks, and we should make fun of the Sharks. This is a very bad team. The Vegas penalty kill is pretty bad. At least they've been so far to start this season. So far on the season, they're giving up the 5th most shot attempts per minute of any team in the league. Shots against per minute on the penalty kill is 19th in the NHL. Goals against per minute sitting 26th. Like, this is not a good penalty killing team. And if San Jose has one thing that they can boast, it's that their power play is actually not bad. It's good, actually, dare I say. and not just because of a high shooting percentage, they're actually generating a fair number of shots. San Jose 1 is perfectly correlated. 16,600 is my sticking point. Like, that is really expensive. But the thing is like, if this is anywhere near a close game, those guys are probably they're all going to play 20 minutes. They might all play 22 minutes. Like, it's nuts. So this is a line that's perfectly correlated, going to get a ton of ice time. That is a good power play going up against a bad penalty kill. Like, I think there are reasons to play San Jose. The issue that I'm running into is that price. Like, in a single entry, like, I'd probably rather go play Dallas. They are, a lot higher owned, but I'd rather go play Dallas. I'd rather go play Vancouver. I'd rather go play the Rangers. I'd rather go play St. Louis. Like, that's just kind of the issue. But I if I'm 20 maxing or 150 maxing, like, I'm probably, like, in a 20 max, I probably have one lineup with San Jose. If I'm 150 maxing, like, I might have like 4, 5, 6 lineups with the Sharks. Like, I do think there's a chance that they do some damage here tonight against a back-to-back team with a terrible penalty kill.
I can tell you who's over the field on the Sharks tonight. Jake Harry.
Good point.
Is there any more random late-night hammer than this game? Carolina Hurricanes with a 3.3 total. Heading into Seattle, the Kraken have a 2.7 total. I like how they moved Jack Roslovic to the top line and they moved Seth Jarvis down, and the line got more expensive in between games. Like, it was cheaper with Jarvis the other night, and now it's more expensive with Roslovic. Now, Roslovic looked pretty good up there. And Seattle just isn't great. Aho's on a point streak, for whatever that means. You know what it means, but, like, it doesn't really have an impact on DFS here tonight. I'm fine with Aho, Svechnikov, Roslovic at 17K. They have positive leverage. They have a 3.3 total on the road, which I believe is the highest on the slate. It is. And Seattle's penalty kill sucks. And you get Aho and Svechnikov on the top unit. I do like Carolina 1 here at 17K. It's just, like, do I want to stay up into the middle of the night to watch the Hurricanes play Seattle? That's something that I'll have to answer for myself. But I do like Carolina 1. Why Eric Robinson is in the top 6 on this team, I don't know. Maybe for empty net situations. I don't mind the stalled Jarvis Martinook line as a filler at 10,600. Cliffy talked about it a bunch last season, why Jordan Staal is a really good center for Jarvis. So I don't mind that line as a filler, but it would be Carolina 1 for me. On the flip side, what do you do with Seattle, right? Like, it would be McCann, Eberle, Beniers at 14-4. I just don't want to play Seattle until I see a line that actually gets decent minutes. It's just spread out. It is what it is. Stevenson's going to play a ton. It's just how the coach coaches. It's just how every coach in Seattle coaches. So I'm out on Seattle.
Just a quick update. The Flyers are up to 10 shots and 4 goals against Minnesota. I just
anyone cares. Sorry.
No. Yeah, I saw that. Minus 9.8 points.
That's one of his better results on the season, but go ahead, Cliffy. Sorry.
No, like, in a nutshell, I would have a little bit of interest in that McCann, Eberle, Beniers line, right? They're all on the top power play unit together. Maybe they don't get a ton of minutes, but they'll probably get like 17, 18 minutes. And at 14,400, I think that's fine. Like 17, 18 minutes at 14,400 for a perfectly correlated line. It's like Dallas 2, right? Like, Dallas 2 is probably only going to play like 15 or 16. Now, they're in a better matchup, but they're probably only going to play 15 or 16 minutes, but they're perfectly correlated. And that matters. The issue is that it's the Carolina Hurricanes, right? It's like again, like this team is one of the best defensive teams in hockey. Their penalty kill is in the top 10 at 5-on-5. They're giving up the fewest shot attempts against per 60, third fewest shots against per 60. I think it's fifth fewest expected goals against per 60. It's just a really, really tough matchup for Seattle. So, I think going back to the Carolina side, like a Marty Necas one-off, Seth Jarvis one-off, those types of things are fine, but I really don't have a lot of interest in stacking either side here.
I'd rather play the Sharks than Seattle tonight. Just put that out there into the universe.
Honestly, I agree with that.
Yeah. Before we get to defensemen and goalies, just wanted to again say thank you for all your support. There are so many people in this chat on a Saturday. We appreciate it. Again, if you want to sign up to go premium, click the link in the chat. You can sign up for weekly or monthly. NBA promo code TIPOFF24 will get you core weekly or core monthly for $1, and it'll renew on the 30th. But yeah, I appreciate the support. We appreciate the support. Let's talk about some defensemen and goalies. Top of the board, playing each other. Yossi and Werenski, 7,800, 7,500. I think both are in play for me. Shea Theodore at 6,600 at the top of the board as well. Really stand out. I think this is a fine matchup for Quinn Hughes. I do worry about peripherals, but in his last 3 games, he's had 18 shots on goal. So he does go through stretches where he does shoot the puck a lot more. You kind of ride that wave. Like, I don't know what kind of accent that was, but you kind of ride that wave while he's doing it. So I'm fine with that. I think Fox is another really good play. He needs to start getting some shots and blocks, but he's now priced down to 6,100 where he was like 7,400 a few weeks ago. So there are a lot that I do like in the top range. Who you liking, Cliffy?
Yeah, Roman Yossi for sure at the top. I'll say our good friend Quinn Hughes, I think, is certainly in play here. Last season he shot a lot for like the first month of the season and then really tailed off. He's shooting a lot to start this season as well. He's going to play a ton of minutes on that blue line, number 3 projected goalie over at Stochastic here tonight. So Yossi, Hughes, especially if you're playing some sort of other Vancouver players. Shea Theodore is kind of interesting. I think it's a really good matchup, but he doesn't put up much for peripherals. Like, you really need him to have like a multi-point game. But I think he's certainly in play in that matchup. In the mid-price range, Josh Morrissey, anytime he's under 6K, I'll always have interest in Josh Morrissey. Miro Heiskanen to even 5K, I think is fine. Thomas Harley, I think he's at 4,300, getting good secondary power play minutes. Justin Falk in a really good matchup on the road in Montreal, still under 5K. He's not shooting a lot, which is kind of concerning to me. Like, that's one of those things that helps float his DFS value.
Yeah, 7 shots on goal this season.
Yeah, and it's not even one of those things where like he's just missing the net a lot early in the season. Like, his shot attempt rate, I think it's last amongst all St. Louis defensemen, which is not what you want to see. Brady Shea at home against Chicago. Oliver Ekman-Larsson, his price is rising. He's not blocking a ton of shots, but he is shooting a fair bit, getting good power play minutes for Toronto. There are a lot of cheap guys, like really cheap guys I like here tonight. Jackson Lacombe is still under 3K, running power play 1, I believe, for Anaheim. Jack Thompson for San Jose, he was up over 20 minutes a game in their last game. He's running their top power play unit, also under 3K. Tyler Myers, great home matchup against Pittsburgh. I think he's all the way to 2,600. Might only play like 18 minutes, but he might not need more than that. Dmitry Orlov is getting 20 minutes a game. He's under 3K for Carolina. I think he's fine. I hate to say this, but I think Ryan Suter, especially pending Philip Broberg's status, because we said earlier that Broberg left morning skate today, looked like he was injured. Haven't seen anything further. Broberg's out. I think Ryan Suter might be their number 1 left shot defenseman.
He's been playing like 25 minutes a game the past year.
I know.
What year is
it? So, like, I guess Ryan Suter, just because of the minutes. on the other side of that game, Lane Hudson certainly. Alex Vlasic for Chicago, some power play time, might have to block a lot of shots. And Philip Hronik, like all the way down to 3K. Like he's not doing a whole lot, but that is really cheap for the minutes and for his matchup here tonight.
You know who I like for 3K? I played him last night at 2,800. He's been playing over 20 minutes a night most night is Matt Grzelcyk for the Penguins. He's had a block bonus in 3 of the last 4 games. He's going to be busy in his end tonight, so
yeah,
I don't mind it. Leave the Bruins, have to block more shots. It's usually how it goes. Let's talk a little bit about the goalies. The top of the board, I don't mind Jake Ottinger at 8,500. He would need a shutout to probably hit value at that number. Can he do it? Yes. So, if I was playing cash, which I haven't done in a while, I'd probably just play Jake Ottinger. I think he's fine in GPPs. Don't mind Kevin Lankinen. Shot volume might be a concern there. Honestly, Jordan Binnington, Spencer Knight at 7,800, I like. And if I'm spending down, Joey Decord, right? Carolina, you come for the expected goals, stay for the shutout. Any goalie against Carolina, I'm interested in, especially a 7,300 goalie at home. That's really about as low as I'll go. I don't really love the cheaper options than that.
Yeah, I do like Lankinen here just because he's not super priced up. He's 8K. And I'm not worried about letting in like 2 or 3 power play goals or something like that. So as long as he doesn't get lit up at 5-on-5, I think he'll be fine. I mean, again, we just went over this on Thursday. 7,900 Connor Hellebuyck. Like,
price the homie.
Like, he's what, $300 more expensive? Connor Hellebuyck, I certainly like.
He's been over 8K twice this season, at home to Chicago and at home to the Sharks. Otherwise, he's been under 8K.
That's outstanding. There are some relatively cheap goalies I do like Varlamov at home to Florida. Hopefully he can do what Igor Shesterkin couldn't do the other night. As you mentioned, Joey Decord, 7,300 is perfectly fine. Danil Tarasov, he's not at the top of my list, but he probably should see a ton of volume against Nashville here tonight. And it's one of those things like, if he doesn't get lit up on the power play, I think he can put up, or on the penalty kill, sorry, I think he can put up a decent DFS score. It's just, if Nashville starts popping in power play goals, that might be a quick night for him. Again, not a big target, but if you have 7,100 and you need to, it's your last spot, you already have your lineup filled out, I don't mind Tarasov.
Yeah, I mean, he doesn't need a win, right? At that price, you just need the saves bonus, and that's kind of what you're aiming for if you're putting him in there. Yeah. Yeah. Who you liking for your hat trick pick?
Funny enough, we're going right back to that Columbus-Nashville game, and I'm going with Mr. Jonathan Marchessault.
Going with my pal. He's a buddy of mine, not in real life, but in the hockey sense, I was devastated when he got traded. Pavel Buchnevich.
Can't wait to watch the Habs lose 6-1 tonight. It's going to be a lot of fun.
I can wait. I'm probably not going to watch that game. Probably watch my Rangers struggle, but against the Duckies. Oh, no. Tyler says, Decord the best to ever do it. Please let us know your goalie.
I mean,
we're going to be busy.
I feel like just saying something nice about him is bad enough. Like, he's off the list now.
Yeah, he's – good thing he signed that extension a few weeks ago. But
Frostback was going to ruin him financially.
Frostback is the Andercust of hockey. So, it's a good thing he signed the extension, but we are going to be busy next week. I think we're here every day next week, pretty much.
Yeah.
Yeah. We'll see you a lot next week. Good luck, everybody, tonight, and we'll see you Monday.
Good luck, everyone.